For the sort of diving I do, there are two pieces of kit I put in a completely different category to everything else. My rebreather and my dry suit. Fins, lights, computers, masks, I can swap and adapt those. But if my rebreather isn't right, or my dry suit isn't keeping me warm, the dive simply doesn't happen. That means that for me, a dry suit is the second most important piece of gear I own. On deep wreck dives, with long decompression, it's a key part of my safety system. Not only is it my thermal protection, but it's also what I use for buoyancy control, so it has a huge impact on how the dive is going to go. If I'm cold, tired, hanging on a line and shivering, then my awareness is going to suffer, my decision making is going to suffer, and frankly, that's not where you want to be on a big wreck dive. So the suit I choose for these dives has to be something I absolutely trust. The last 15 years, that suit has been the O'Three Ri2-100. Not because it's the lightest or the most fashionable suit on the market, arguably it isn't, but because when the water is cold, the wreck is deep and the decompression is long, I'm still warm and still dry, and I don't even have to think about my suit. Now, before getting into why I like it so much, I think it's briefly worth explaining what this suit actually is, because that's where a lot of the inherent warmth comes from. It's made from 2.1mm resin impregnated compressed neoprene. That's a tough material. It's compressed neoprene, not crushed neoprene, so it retains the thermal properties of neoprene. This material has been taken to over 300 meters and it doesn't compress any further. That means that when you're diving, you've got a dense material that provides insulation in its own right. Its buoyancy isn't going to change. And for you as a diver, that's great because it means you get consistent warmth and consistent buoyancy, which is absolutely what you want. Instead of a thin trilaminate shell that relies almost entirely on a massive undersuit, you've got a dense material that provides real insulation in its own right. It traps a thin layer of gas close to the body, and because the suit is relatively close-fitting, that minimises internal gas movement. Quickly on undersuits, because the dry suit and undersuit should be considered as a system. I use the O'Three PBB Plus undersuit, which is relatively snug and non-bulky. That's fine due to the integral warmth in the suit. It's constructed from fleece with Primaloft insulation in the core and thighs, so adds warmth where you actually need it without any extra bulk. It also handles moisture well. On long dives, you're going to sweat, probably quite a bit. And the PBB Plus wicks that away instead of keeping it close to your skin where it will turn cold later on. And just like the suit itself, the undersuit is fairly forgiving if things aren't perfect. A bit of dampness or a small leak doesn't instantly turn the dive into a misery exercise. I also really like the neck seal on this suit. It's neoprene, so it doesn't just keep the water out. It adds warmth of its own. On long, cold decompression, I find having a warm, snug seal around your neck makes a noticeable difference compared with a thin latex seal that has no thermal properties. The wrists also have neoprene seals that have similar benefits. Should you wish, you can also run Scuba dry gloves with the added benefit of removable neoprene seals. These are trivially easy to change. There are also other options for boots, pockets, P-valves and P-zips to accommodate whatever your needs are. Now that's a brief outline of the suit. In the rest of the video, I'm going to discuss the key reasons why I've dived the Ri2-100 for so long, but also flag some of the compromises that you're going to get with a suit like this. Let's start with the main reason I still dive it after all these years. And that's warmth. Most of the dives I use it on are deep wreck dives with long periods of decompression in cold water, which means multiple hours of stops. I really feel the cold, So a suit that keeps me warm is incredibly important. The Ri2-100 isn't just cosy on the boat or the surface, it stays warm when it really counts. When I'm not moving much and I'm hanging on a line trying to keep my head in the game while the long deco ticks down, that's when I need to be warm. Now I've tried lighter, more flexible suits that feel great until you start getting cold. At that point, my mind becomes totally focused on how cold I am. I don't want to be doing that. I want to be thinking about the wreck, the conditions, the team, not my core temperature. The other thing that matters to me is how a suit behaves when things go wrong, specifically when it floods. No one plans to flood a dry suit, but if you dive long enough, it's probably going to happen. A damaged seal, a zip issue, a neck seal folded over. With very thin suits, once they flood, it feels like you're in a bag of cold water. I saw exactly this happen to a good friend of mine last year, who became so cold he couldn't keep his loop in his mouth and had to bail out to open circuit. Even having completed all his decompression, he still required recompression treatment because he started showing the signs of decompression sickness. Now, that's an awful situation to be in, and frankly, not where I want to be. The Ri2-100, even with a significant leak, there's still a load of integral warmth. It starts to behave more like a wetsuit, so you don't instantly go to miserable and shivering. Now it's not ideal, obviously, but it buys you time and comfort to finish the dive and the deco without it turning into a survival exercise. Now that forgiveness is a big part of why I use this suit for serious dives. It's not just about how warm it is when everything goes right, but also how it behaves when things don't. Durability is the other major strength. I don't baby my suits. They get dragged through engine rooms, thrown around on boats, they go over hull plates, into holds and squeezed through hatchways. Cosmetically, it's scratched and scuffed, but structurally it is still super solid. The kind of suit where you stop worrying about brushing against something sharp on a wreck. If you're doing wreck penetration, loads of training, or just regular cold water diving, not having to constantly send a suit away for repairs is a huge advantage. Even when something goes wrong, repairs are straightforward. I've fixed issues myself in the field without needing to send the suit away. And in fact, one of my suits still has the repair that I did on it. It's been so effective, I've not needed to consider sending it away. So what are the compromises? Because no suit is perfect. Firstly, weight and bulk. The O'Three Ri2-100 is noticeably heavier than a modern tri-laminate suit, which makes it less travel friendly. If baggage weight or long carries are something that concern you, then lighter options are probably going to make sense. Second is flexibility. I can do all the usual technical skills in this suit, but it's definitely stiffer than a tri-laminate one. On the surface especially, it feels very different. If you're used to a flexible suit, you will definitely notice it. The bottom line is you're trading convenience, lightness and flexibility for warmth and durability. Now for my kind of diving, that's not a difficult decision to make. For yours, it might be, and you may feel differently. So who is this suit actually for? Well, if you're a deep wreck diver doing Trimix, CCR, long decompression in genuinely cold water, I cannot think of a better suit. It's exactly what it's built for. If you're a cold water recreational diver, you may feel that it's more suit than you need, but trust me, you'll definitely appreciate the warmth and security, especially if you feel the cold like I do, or are planning to do multiple dives a day, or dive in one of those horrible nasty quarries where it's freezing cold. If most of your diving is in travel or warm water, or you simply want a suit that packs small and does everything, then this probably isn't the suit for you. To sum up, the O'Three Ri2-100 is warm, tough, and built to be used hard in cold water over a long period of time. That's why after 15 years, it's still the suit I reach for when the dives are serious. Deep recs, long decompression, and any dive where I really don't want to be thinking about being cold. I've traded weight, bulk, and some flexibility for that performance, but it wasn't a difficult decision at all. If warmth and durability matter, then this is the obvious choice. Now, if you've got questions about sizing, then you probably want to push them to O'Three. If you want to talk about undersuits or comparisons with other suits, drop them in the comments and I'll pick them up with you. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've got a load more videos on similar topics and I hope one of those will take your fancy. But for now, I'm Dom Robinson, Deep Wreck Diver, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.